Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. As always, I appreciate you tuning in today. And today I have the absolute pleasure of speaking to Jomana. Dr. Jomana is the proud mother of 2 boys, a university professor, a TEDx speaker, and an ICF-certified life, career, and executive coach and Master NLP Practitioner. Her niche is specifically self-worth, confidence, and mindset coaching for women. She believes that self-worth and confidence form the foundations upon which most, if not all, aspects of our lives are constructed. She helps ambitious women struggle with not enoughness, which, let's face it, I'm sure we've all felt that, and self-doubt to reclaim their worth and confidence so they can live the life they want to live as who they truly are. Dr. Jomana believes that we can accumulate all the accolades, success, and wealth we think we want, but if we don't feel worthy of that inside, we continue to evade genuine happiness and freedom. I am so pleased you are joining me today, Jomana. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Annette. It's my pleasure.
Amazing. So, self-worth. It's a word that people use a lot, but what does it actually mean?
What a great way to start. Self-worth basically means how much you value yourself as a person. And you're absolutely right. The word is used so often. And I have said on more than one occasion that if you had asked me a few years ago, what does self-worth mean? I would have probably given you the same definition. Do you think you have a healthy sense of self-worth? And I would have been like, yeah, of course, totally. But the actions of many of us do not represent those of someone who has a healthy sense of self-worth.
So what are those actions? What are the actions that you see that indicate to you that actually people perhaps don't have a sense of self-worth? And what actions, I guess, do people who do have a good sense of self-worth take?
Well, since self-worth is related to how much you find yourself valuable and worthy and deserving, some actions that perhaps do not reflect those of someone who has a healthy sense of worth, what comes to mind, the most common one is poor boundaries or lack of boundaries. And when even that is used quite loosely these days.
It is.
And when we think of boundaries, it's related to your ability to express what you want or what you don't want, really, at the end of the day. So if someone at work tells you, Annette, look, I've got so much on right now, and I'm supposed to go out tonight and I'm really busy. Can you please do this for me? And you really don't want to do it, Annette, and yet you still say yes through grinding teeth.
Yeah.
That means that you haven't set those healthy boundaries or within yourself, actually, more than with the other person.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, isn't it? Because I think that's a situation that all of us can relate to, where we say yes to something when we actually mean no, but the only person we're actually doing a disservice to in that situation is ourselves.
Exactly. And the way it relates to self-worth, because remember, the word worth is related to value, how much you value yourself.
Yeah.
And when we think of boundaries or the lack of boundaries, when you say yes, but you really want to say no, NFW, which is no effing way, but we still say yes.
Yes,
that
of
means
course.
that
No problem.
that means you're valuing their feelings, you're valuing their time, you're valuing their energy more than your own.
Yeah, interesting. But then what would you say to people who say, well, if I value my own higher than theirs, then am I not being selfish?
Why can't we value both?
Great answer.
Okay, we can value our own and others, time, energy, space, feelings, and so on. But when repeatedly we are valuing others at our own expense, there's something that's not right there. That needs to be addressed.
Yeah. So how do we fix that? Those people that perpetually value others more highly than their own value. Because I'm assuming that's not just a light switch we can turn on and off as we wish. If it's
Oh
something
no,
that's
and this is,
really ingrained in us.
so I think there's a bit of a lag. And that's just one example.
Mm.
So actually, this is also linked to people pleasing. Like, why
Yeah.
do you say yes when you really mean no? Oh, because you don't want them to get upset. Like, how often have you said that to yourself? Or I've said it to myself. People around me say that, but I don't want them to get upset. Oh, but it's okay for me to get upset. It's okay for you to get upset.
It's so funny when you think of it that way, isn't it? It's like, it's okay for me to be upset and then go and rant at my husband or colleague about it. But as long as the other person is fine, then that's okay.
Annette, I'd like to ask you something.
Mm.
How does it make you feel when you repeatedly, or if you were to repeatedly, yes, 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 and your heart and your body and your soul is screaming no?
Frustrated, um, angry. Um, Interestingly, in those situations, I feel like the other person is not valuing my time or valuing their time more highly than me, even though logically I understand that it's me that's the one that's saying yes, but I still have those. So I have a resentment, I suppose, towards the other person as well, is another word to put in there.
Exactly. So I was going to say, well, I know that many people would end up feeling resentful.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what I have noticed with myself and with my clients and with whoever I talk to, I will talk about this because it is so important. I will tell them that discomfort that you feel when you politely and kindly and assertively say no, that discomfort, it's better than building up resentment.
Yes, absolutely. Because the resentment does build. It builds over time against that person, doesn't it? And it comes to the point where when that person even comes to speak to you, you think, oh, not again.
Exactly. And resentment is it's a heavy emotion.
Yes.
Discomfort, you'll be like, oh, feel bad. Oh, probably should have. Oh, you know what? It's fine.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those things that actually you might feel a bit bad about for a few minutes or even a few hours, but after that, because you know it was the right thing for you, then actually you kind of release that feeling, don't you?
Exactly. Whereas resentment does accumulate. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's also another sign of perhaps feelings of low self-worth. And I will take a bit of time in a bit to distinguish between feelings of low self-worth and self-worth
Okay, yeah.
is the seeking external validation.
Hmm. The people pleasing
Uh,
aspect.
it's related to people pleasing. It doesn't
Mm.
have to actually just be people. Seeking
Okay,
external validation could
yeah.
be like, I will feel worthy when I get my university degree.
Got you.
When I
Yeah.
get my promotion, I will feel better. When I'm wearing that size 8 dress, that's when I
Mm.
feel worthy and deserving. So it's
Yeah.
looking outside yourself to feel whether it's the money you make, the car you drive, the house you live in, anything that's external to you. If you are putting a lot of weight and emphasis on that to make you feel happy, to make you
Mm.
feel worthy, also that's a big sign there. That's a red flag.
Yeah, and we have a lot of business owners that listen to this podcast, and I think that a lot of business owners put the feeling of self-worthiness into the success or otherwise of their business as well.
Exactly. Exactly. I've seen that as well with a couple of my clients who are entrepreneurs, and but the thing is, the beauty of self-worth is that it is there.
Mm.
We are worthy. We were born worthy. We've always been worthy. We will always be worthy. We are pre-approved by the universe.
Mm.
So we are worthy. It's just the feelings of self-worth often evade us.
Yes.
So it's just about tapping into that, actually digging inward rather than seeking from without.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that that lots of people probably don't know how to do anymore. I say anymore because I'm sure at some point they did and we did. But I think that perhaps even with the kind of current schooling system and all that kind of thing steers us towards that external validation, doesn't it?
Yeah, I use this example often that we are born worthy. I mean, if you look at a little newborn baby
Mm.
who actually has just been born into the world, has not even had time to achieve or, to say yes and to say no, and this baby, how valuable is this baby? It's
Hugely.
invaluable.
Yeah.
And you'll find that as this baby grows into toddlerhood, still, they want what they want. They say yes, they say no,
Yes.
and they are unapologetic.
Yeah.
And then gradually, you'll find that they go into between parents and family and relatives, and then going to school and teachers, and suddenly it's not sudden, it's actually quite a long process
Yes.
of getting criticized, getting judged,
Mm.
being spoken to in harsh ways.
Mm.
Don't sit like that. Don't say that. Be quiet. Be quiet.
Mm.
You're silencing this person.
Yeah.
Uh, every criticism, every harsh judgment is basically stripping away at their feelings of self-worth.
Mm.
Then come to adolescence. Adolescents, they're taking from each other basically.
Yeah.
And then we get into adulthood, and especially, actually, when you think about it, with kids, they want their parents' approval. They
Oh,
crave
yes.
their parents' approval.
Yes.
And whether we're aware of it or not, we love our kids unconditionally. There is no doubt about that. But
Yeah.
we do tend to give them those extra cuddles, those extra, positive words of affirmation when they get the good grades, when they
Mm.
behave, when they
Yeah.
speak politely, when they this. And so they grow up thinking and feeling, I have to behave like this in order to feel loved and to feel worthy.
Wow. Yeah. So how do we not mess up our kids with that stuff? Because on one hand, you want to instill good values in them.
Look, it's tough. To be honest,
Yeah.
it's
I'm just
really
thinking I
tough.
have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I'm like, oh my goodness, how do I, say to them, I'm really proud of how you behaved yesterday. Like, thank you so much. You made our, I'm going to give you an example. We were away for February half term, and we had a 5-hour flight delay coming home. So, and our flight was due to take off at 4 in the afternoon. So by the time it did take off, it was, to all intents and purposes, in the middle of the night for a 5 and a 7-year-old. And they were complete superstars. They weren't grumbly, they weren't fighting and bickering with each other. They were amazing. So the next day, we say to them, You made our job so much easier yesterday. You behaved amazingly. Thank you so much. But that's, in this sense, that's us playing into this kind of external validation of how they should behave. But for us, it was explaining to them how proud we were of them, but that's also messing up with it's just a minefield. It's meshing my head.
No. No. You want to encourage, like, you want to provide encouragement and positive words of affirmation, but not just when they are, behaving ideally. So actually, I have a blackboard, a small blackboard on my corridor wall, and I actually have written on it, "I love you no matter what, and even if."
Yeah. Okay. So it's about making sure that there's balance there, and they know that even if we did have a horrible day and they were fighting all day, that actually they were still loved and cherished and understood and listened to.
Actually, I think my parents cringe when I'm angry with my kids, because I always like, you know how much I love you, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, I adore you, I love you. And then there's, but.
Yes. You also can't behave this way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So what to do, Annette?
We can
What do
maybe
we do
not mess up
now?
our kids too badly then, if we get that balance.
It's about awareness.
Yeah.
Awareness. Like, I can be completely transparent with you. With my eldest son, I was not aware. I would, I, I thought I was being encouraging, and I was, motivating him to get the better grades and to behave this way, behave like so ideally. And indeed, he would get complimented all the time. I would get complimented all the time because I had this perfectly behaved son. And actually, when he was about 9 years old, I started to see the signs that I had lived with my whole life: the perfectionism, the people pleasing, the seeking external validation, whether it was, not being happy unless he got perfect grades, unless he, played really well in the football. And I think the most powerful is the inner critic. That inner critic. And that's when I actually really dove into personal development and learning a lot about it. And that's when there was a lot of guilt. I accept now that I had good intentions, but it's about awareness. Now, my youngest son, it's like, he's the type that will say, my grades don't define me.
Nice.
When people tell him, why are you wearing, a yellow sock with a red sock, he'll be like, I'm allowed to express myself.
Yes, because I like it, and that's all that matters.
Yep. And he'll say, if I'm going to be polite, it's because I want to be polite. I don't care if people like me or not. And
yeah. So if it sounds like when you discovered this, you were very much in the place that many of us are in terms of the people pleasing and the external validation. So we've kind of spoken about how we can not mess up our kids in this process. But what about if we're there? If we're sitting in a position currently where we do people please and we do seek external validation, and we are, have that horrible, nasty inner voice in our head that is not very kind at all. What can we do about that?
I'd like to tell you that it does and can get better. I was the queen of people pleasing. I was the yes girl.
Yeah.
I think that's I was the yes girl. And I'm discovering now, can you imagine, Annette? I discovered about a year ago or so that I was addicted to achieving and overachieving.
Yeah.
And while I always thought, I'm ambitious and I'm driven. Yes, I'm ambitious and I'm driven, but I realized at 40 years old that it was driven from trying to fill a bottomless pit.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a huge revelation. And then when I noticed it in myself, it's like I was given a new set of eyes, and I'm seeing it in so many people around me, especially women.
Yes. Yeah.
So what we can do, there are actually several tips that I can share with you today. And one of the most important will probably be become aware of the critical and negative thoughts and replace them with kinder ones.
Mm.
And more specifically, speak to yourself like you would a loved one.
Yeah, I think that's really key, isn't it? Because a lot of the things that we say to ourselves, we would never say to our spouse or our best friend or our kids. We would never say those things out loud to someone else.
Absolutely. And I actually have it as a practice. I've worked on myself so much, and I'm in a much better place on the
Oh, I think we might have lost you. No, I think we've lost Jomana's audio for a sec there. So we'll just let her figure out what's happening there. I suspect that she had a phone thing come through and now it's gone a bit funny. So hopefully in a sec we will hear her again and she will pop back in, but she is busy she's busy sorting that just now. This conversation for me is fascinating though, because I am by my nature I am somebody who likes to overachieve. I am somebody who is a people pleaser. Have we got your audio back there, Jomana? Are we back?
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Perfect. Very good. I was just sharing by the very nature, I am exactly that person that you described that you were a year ago. And I think we're about the same age too, because you said a year ago and you're 40, I am 41 now. So it sounds like we're very similar age as well. So perhaps similar influences in our upbringings at the same time with the types of messages that we may have received during the 80s and 90s.
Yes, yes. I told you it's so common, especially amongst women. But yes, as I was saying, this is a practice that I actually engage in. So
Yeah.
when on the rare occasion now that I hear myself being harsh, whether it's, oh, you're a bad mom, you're working too much, and whatever, I actually imagine my best friend of 25 years, who's also a working mom of two kids, if she came to me and told, with her issue, what I'm going through, would I tell her, you're such a bad mom, you're working too much?
I don't think you would have been friends for 25 years if you did, that's for sure.
All right. If I've met someone a day ago, I would never say it. I would not
No, of
say those
course.
words to anyone. And the thing is, yeah, I would tell her, you know what, you're doing the best you can. You're trying to establish a future for your kids. You're working hard. And then I realized, and it was literally like a light bulb. Oh my God, as much as I love her, I've known myself for 41 years. I deserve this love that I and care and kindness that I share so generously with everyone. Well, actually, I deserve it more. And it's a
Yeah.
decision we make.
Yeah. And it's a decision that
Right?
anyone listening can make today.
Absolutely. The thing is, we often say words that disempower us. I can't help it. I can't. Actually, you can.
Yes. Or I don't have a choice. Well, actually, everything is a choice. We do have a choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like you can think, I'm hopeless, I'm stupid. God forbid. I hope people don't say this, but this is the reality. You can say, I'm trying my best, and it's not like I tell people or encourage people to say things that aren't true.
Yes.
So you're not feeling so great about yourself. I'm trying my best.
Yeah.
don't have to say, I'm amazing, I'm strong, I'm not talking about these affirmations that are just basically lip service. We don't want
Yeah.
lip service. All right. Another really important one is accepting that we're imperfect.
Mm.
And
That's a
because
really hard one for me.
perfectionism,
That's a really, really hard one for me. And you know, my daughter the other day surprised me. She's 5, and we were, and her and her brother and the two of us were, me and my husband were kind of having this discussion about something to do with perfectionism, and she said, yes, but everyone's perfect because we're all supposed to be perfect and imperfect at the same time. It's like, we're all everything, and that's all okay. How's a 5-year-old
it's
got it
just
better than
about
most
giving
people? I don't
ourselves.
know.
Well, see, this is the thing. I told you when they're babies and infants, and yeah,
Yeah.
this is great actually. So this is perhaps something that should be nurtured.
Yeah.
And the thing is about the whole accepting that we're imperfect. And while it seems so simple, and intellectually we all know nobody's perfect. We know this. But when you accept that, really just sit with yourself, meditate on, I'm not perfect. And while that might create a lump, perhaps a few pounding heartbeats, but the thing is, once you accept that you're not perfect, next time you make a mistake, you do something wrong, instead of berating yourself, because it's very much linked to the first one. Instead of berating yourself and being so harsh, you'll be like, I'm human. I'll do my best to, to do better next time.
Yeah.
Because you can't be bullied into being a better person. Our inner critic can be a real bully.
Yes.
And when you say, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I hate myself, honestly, I feel very uncomfortable even saying these.
Yeah.
These are not going to get you to be the person you were born to be.
Yes, in the same way that you know, bullies that bully people, bully kids at school, it doesn't have the effect of making the person a better person or a different person. So doing it to ourselves
Absolutely.
also doesn't have that effect.
Yeah, totally. You're not going to be surprised by the next one. Setting boundaries. And the thing is, a lot of people feel very uncomfortable to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And because they think, well, I don't want to be mean. I'm a kind person. I'm a kind person.
Yes.
Just because I'm a kind person. But just because you're kind doesn't mean you can't say no once in a while.
Yes, completely. And
So,
because
for
actually you need
example,
to be kind to yourself.
So it's interesting because more recently at work, I was always like, we'd love you to be on this committee. We would love for you to, do this student recruitment. We'd love you to do this. I'm like, yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you for considering me. And then, and then I started to feel resentful time after time after time. And I then learned that I can be kind and say no. And
Yes.
when I get those emails, if I don't want to do it, and I know deep in my heart I don't have to do it, and I will just write, thank you so much for considering me. I really appreciate it, but I've got a lot on my plate right now.
Yeah.
Is there anything unkind about that, Annette? Please be
No,
honest.
not in the slightest. Because the problem is that if you say yes, actually you are spreading yourself more thinly, and perhaps you then do a disservice to the person you're saying yes to anyway.
Yep. And this also is the case with friends. Oh, let's go out. Or people calling you and speaking, your friends calling you for an hour and a half, and you've got so much to do, and you don't want to be rude, you don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, you can quite, I'm not going to say easily, but quite simply say, I love you so much. And, I know you really want to chat, but it's not a good time for me right now. I promise I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Yeah. And when you get back to them at a later date, you're going to be more engaged in what they have to say. You're going to be more, going to be listening more to what they have to say, and you're going to be able to help and support them better, because you can't fill from an empty cup after all.
Totally. And, I've noticed a recurring theme with my clients is that I feel taken for granted. I don't feel appreciated, whether it's at home or at work.
Yeah.
And my immediate thought is, well, how do you appreciate and value yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
How often do you appreciate and value yourself? And so that brings me to acknowledge, appreciate, and celebrate yourself and your efforts. How can you expect people to appreciate you, to acknowledge you, when you don't even do it for yourself?
Yes, because you're spending your time seeking external validation rather than acknowledging yourself and giving yourself the validation.
And what do I mean by that? Because I want to be very clear. It's not like you're going to walk around with your arms up in the air. I'm amazing. I'm perfect. I'm this, I'm that. It's just about, for example, acknowledging yourself. Write 10 qualities about yourself that you like. I would love for your listeners to do this. I'd love for you to do this later as well.
I was going to say, I'm going to do this. I'm definitely going to do this.
Do you know how many people struggle with this?
I think I would struggle with it. Actually, I definitely do. I think I could probably get 3 or 4 out there, but 10, I think I'd struggle.
Well, then I'll tell you to write 20.
Okay. Amazing.
That means you really need this exercise. Yeah, you need to do this exercise. And the thing is, because we take ourselves for granted. Annette, are you an honest person?
I think so. Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. Are you kind?
I am kind.
Trustworthy?
Yes.
Loyal?
Yes.
Hardworking?
Yes.
Ambitious?
Yes.
See, I could go. So these, we've just listed 7 in like
That's
20
amazing,
seconds.
isn't it? That's amazing, because because I think most people would struggle to put those words down when they thought of themselves naturally.
Because we take ourselves for granted. We don't value these qualities within ourselves. And we can keep going, Annette. We can off the air. We'll keep going.
I'm definitely going to sit down and do this exercise. I'm going to get myself a cup of tea and write 20. That's my task. I'm going to do that. And I encourage everyone listening and watching to absolutely do the same.
And Annette, these are qualities within you. This is the key. So I'm not even talking about, I've got a university degree. I am married, and it's not what you own. It's not what you have.
Yes.
It's not what you look like. It's not where you come from. It's who you are on the inside.
Amazing. I think that exercise alone is going to have a profound effect on people.
It's so profound, because once you start acknowledging yourself and validating yourself, you will rely less and less on external validation. And again, that external validation can be, material wealth. It can be, I have to be a size 8. I have to have, this car. I have to, no.
Yeah, courses, qualifications,
very powerful.
All those things. Amazing.
Even, can I share something with you, if you don't mind?
Yes, of course.
Even with my students, because I'm a university professor, I've realized how much I've changed in the last year, I realized that I relied on my students for my validation. And so I would
Yes.
give and give and give and give and give. Message me on WhatsApp anytime you have a question. Do this, and I'll give them extra sessions. And I'd be so available just so they can tell me, you're so inspiring, you're so strong, you're so amazing, you're so this. And I would be like, I didn't realize I was doing it. So that's why I'm telling you, awareness is so
Yeah, and I
important.
bet we've got many business owners listening who do exactly the same with their customers and clients.
Exactly. Exactly. So we give and overgive. And I've realized now I'm holding back, not necessarily holding back, is I'm worthy. I don't know. It's not something I do consciously,
Mm,
but I do my job. I do a great job. I give it all my heart. I set boundaries. No more of that.
yes.
No more of
Yes.
this. No more of that. No more of that. And interestingly, they love me just the same.
Amazing, isn't it? Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Jomana, this conversation has been fascinating. I think it's given both me and our listeners and watchers some really key things to think about and some great exercises to do as well to uncover more about their self-worth, their own value, how they feel about all of that, and how they can bring that to their lives and their businesses as well. Why don't you share with our listeners where they can find out more about you and where you hang out online?
Yes, thank you so much, Annette. I'm really happy that you found it interesting. Yes, I'm on Instagram. My handle is at Dr. Jomana _mindset coach. I also am on LinkedIn at Jomana Elaridi, Facebook, Jomana Elaridi, and my website, www.drjomana.com. And I would love to
Amazing.
connect with your listeners. My
Amazing.
mission, Annette,
Go for it. Yes, your
my
mission.
mission, my mission, Annette, is to save people, especially women, I'm not going to lie, from the years of anxiety and pain that I experienced as a fully competent and ambitious woman who was crippled
Yes.
with self-doubt.
Yeah, I think that's an incredible mission. We will put the link so people can connect with you in the show notes as well. So anyone on the podcast, you can just click on those and connect with Jomana as well. Once again, thank you so much for joining me today, Jomana. Thank you to everyone who is listening and watching. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. We know that your time is incredibly precious, so thank you for spending some of it with us today. And I will speak to you all very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Hi.